So that should be good. So welcome to A Good Old Natter With, and today I have the most awesome TJ. How you doing, mate?
Can I tell my wife you just said that I'm the most awesome? Because she may not agree. I've been married for 33 years, so.
Yeah, well, I'll clip that bit out for you so you can send it to her.
Perfect. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate the interest in having me do a interview with you.
Oh, absolutely. I've been trying to get you for a while, haven't I? So this will be good fun. This will be good fun. I appreciate you making the time for me. So yeah, awesome. One of the first questions I always ask anyway is what was your first machine? What was your first games console or introduction to computers?
The Odyssey 2, 1976-77. Asked my parents for my first video game console, and I loved that the Odyssey 2 had a keyboard. The Atari did not. So the Odyssey seemed more like a computer to me.
Yeah.
And so my interest, even though Atari had a lot more games and was the biggie, something about the Odyssey 2 attracted me. So technically, it has a little computer intro cartridge, and it's like BASIC. So you can make a little BASIC program. So technically, it would be kind of my first computer, even though it's not a computer. So yeah, Odyssey 2, 1976-77, right when it came out.
Wow. Now, I know you're a big fan of Atari. So when you mentioned Atari, I'm guessing you're talking about the 2600.
Yeah, so that was at the time, the 2600 was really the first gaming console for real home stuff, even though Magnavox had video game capabilities and Fairchild and all these other things that technically came out first. The Atari 2600 was really the original biggie.
Yeah.
But yeah, for gaming stuff, it was Atari, but I never owned an Atari 2600 back in the day. I went from Odyssey directly to Atari computers. So all of my Atari knowledge and fun was on the computer side.
Yeah. So what was your first Atari? Would that have been the XL?
Nope, 800 actually. So their first computers was the Atari 400 and 800. They announced in the late 70s and came out right around 1979-80. So I saved my paper route money. I don't know, as a kid, if you were told you're going to have, you need to make your own money.
Yeah.
Paper routes here in the United States was a way for kids to be employed.
Yeah.
Early, learn how that you've got deadlines and do something. So I had two paper routes, and I did paper route and so saved my money to buy my first computer. My parents helped out by buying the balance. I think I saved $1,000, and my Atari 800 in 1980 was $1,210. I think that was for the 800 with a cassette recorder and shipping. So I paid the $1,000. My parents paid the 200 and whatever, because kid, you did a damn good job. You earned $1,000. So yeah, it was an Atari 800 was my first.
So how long did it take you to save that? Because that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of money, I suppose, back then as well.
Yeah, it was big time. Yeah, so I'm old. So I had a paper route back in the 1970s. Yeah. So back then, you could earn money by having the paper route itself. The company that made the paper gave you money, X amount. And then you could also get subscriptions. It so happened that the papers that I delivered, you did not have to pay for. But people, a few of them would say, if you porch my paper and it doesn't come in all wet, I'll give you a few bucks. So they still had subscriptions. So you would be told to go up and ask everybody, would you like to subscribe? And 90% of them came back and said, well, I get it for free. I'm not giving you any money.
Yeah.
But a few would come back and say, sure, kid, you're up early. I would like to have my paper on time and not wet. So if you put it on the porch and protect it in a baggie if it's raining, I will subscribe for an extra, $5 a month or whatever. So it took me years still. I saved and saved, and I eventually saved enough to where my parents thought, okay, he did pretty good, and we'll pitch in the balance.
Yeah, that's a good way of learning about money, definitely.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was pretty enthusiastic in terms of an entrepreneurial as a kid to a degree. Like, yeah, if I'm going to earn, my parents took great care of us, gave us everything in the world, but they also treated you like, well, no, I'm not going to buy you a computer. You need to learn how you're going to achieve those things. So that put in me, well, I need to get a paper route or mow people's lawns. So back then it wasn't only paper route money. I also mowed people's lawns. Wow. So with that, gave you extra way to save. And then also grandparents would give you Christmas money. So between paper route and lawn service and also just saving up money that I would get, I finally did it. It probably took me a year or two, is my guess.
So I'll just love the fact that you did that, because that's such a good starting basis for future work and attitude, and that's something you're seeing less and less now, especially in the UK. You very rarely see paper rounds anymore. You don't see the typical paper boy anymore. I mean, when I was a kid, there was paper rounds, but I was terrible at it. Luckily, I wasn't a bad singer, so I was in the church choir. Believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
but yeah, I used to get paid for it. Like weddings and things like that. But,
that's cool. Yeah, it's a bit different these days. I don't know. I don't think they have paper routes here for kids anymore either, because I think it's become an adult job where they drive instead of being on a bike. Because when I delivered, I either walked or was on my bike and throwing papers to some places, and others having to get off the bike and putting it on their little front door. But yeah, I don't know what do kids do these days for money. I don't think you can get a job at fast food until you're at least 16. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't have kids, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, 16, 17. I suppose you can work in a little shop, maybe a little corner shop. But yeah, it's. I think it's down to people, parents not feeling safe as well. Letting their kids work or get up early in the morning, and like what we used to do.
It is a different time.
Times have changed, yeah.
Yeah. Even though there were crazies back then that did things, maybe it wasn't televised as much back then.
Well, we got phones now, haven't we? Yeah, we got phones now and the internet.
Yeah, none of that was out there. So I'm sure, because even in my little city, there were abductions. And I remember as a kid, one of the things I remember very fondly, because we walked to school or biked to school. And I remember I was maybe in the second grade, third grade. I had to walk back and forth to school, and I was on a made thoroughfare, and a car stopped next to me and said, "Come into the car, little boy," type of thing. My parent, your parents told me to get in there. And my parents had said, run like a Dickens, like I say, and yell type of thing. And I said, and started running. So
absolutely,
very well could have been an issue where I could have been abducted. I don't know.
Yeah.
My parents definitely didn't send anybody, but yeah, there's a lot. That's one of the dangers, I think, of the internet. It's great, but it also gives weirdos lots of ideas of things they can do.
Yes, definitely.
And it just, I think, makes it even worse. So yeah, I can understand why they wouldn't want kids out early like that.
Yeah, but back then as well, they used to have. I imagine the same in America. We used to have commercials. So you'd have like little adverts saying, "Oh, don't talk to strangers." You'd have adverts about crossing the road. All those adverts have disappeared now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the one that I remember fondly is the frying pan where they put an egg in a fry. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs, and they throw an egg in the frying pan. I don't know if they had that
Oh,
one in
wow,
the
we
UK.
never had that one, but that
Okay,
sounds a good one.
Yeah, you're right. So in the United States, the drugs, I guess, became more apparent or something. So yeah, this is your brain on drugs, and threw an egg in a frying pan, and
Yeah,
it's all
scrambled
sizzling.
egg. So, TJ, you've got a YouTube channel.
Yep.
How did that start?
2007. So I've had a YouTube channel for a very long time, but it was like everybody else in the world. Hey, there's this new YouTube thing. Put up a channel, which I did, and pretty much share videos with friends, parents, that type of thing. So I really didn't get an account set up for anything other than watching other people's videos. And for the heck of it, can I put a video up on that I could show my parents for like fishing or something like that to friends? So I started a long time ago, but I really didn't get serious into it until around 2018, 2019. And it's because of the Specky, which I was going to grab and show you, but the Specky. I had little to no knowledge on Specky. The Specky Next was hot and heavy on Kickstarter.
Yep.
And I started seeing videos on it and fell in love with it. And then all of a sudden I started saying, this YouTube thing is pretty fun. I enjoyed doing little bits and dabbling up until that point, but why don't I make a channel about this United States falling in love with a bloody computer from overseas that most of us in the United States really didn't know much about. And I thought it would be fun that people would be able to say, hey, there's this nutball that's in the United States that likes Specky. Why don't I make videos about it? So I started doing it more often. And before you know it, you start making a video almost every day or every other day. And you become, you get a nice little following, and you just get some nice kudos. Hey, good job. You do collect some oddity people along the way too. YouTube is not pleasant all the time, but overall, I started getting into it 2018, 19, and then I just really dove in, and I've put quite a bit of time into making my video channel what it is. It's still small in relative terms. It's not a one that's become viral or anything like that. But I think once you hit, I'm at 5,200 members now, or subscribers, and then I also have a Patreon that people send little appreciations to me. So it's bigger than just having a mom and dad one at this point. So yeah, I'm having fun with it. That's ultimately why I'm here doing it. Sure, it'd be great if I ever had all of a sudden some videos go viral and more people enjoy what you do, but ultimately it is what it is, and I just make my small videos and get a few laughs here and there. And I also like watching other people's channels like yours and Retro Robbins and all the others that make things like I do.
Yeah, it is good fun. I mean, unfortunately, there are some people out there that they try to spoil it for us. But I think the best thing, my attitude with it is, you just say, "Oh, thank you for your comments, thumbs up," and just hope they'll go away. Because I think if you start poking the fire, it's not gonna end well, is it? So it's best to just cheers, thanks for your lovely comments, bye.
Right. Yeah, and then if they get really vulgar or way out of line, you block them. That's what blocking is there for. And they'll make another account and do it. But I try to, as best as I can. I'm open to any free commentary until they start badgering people watching my channel or posting links to unsavory stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of draw the line, because I don't want somebody to, even though I'm not often savory myself, I do swear, but they're kind of toned down. I don't say the F word much. Most of my stuff is, and in my world, bastard's really not that bad of a word.
No.
It's
to be honest, even in the UK, that's not even considered a swear word anymore. I suppose it was back in the 70s, 80s, but yeah, times have changed.
Sure.
I'm not big on swearing with myself, but I still find it funny. And
sure.
I think that's what it is. That's the point. If a swear word comes across when it's in context with something that you're saying, then it's funny.
Right.
But if you sound like you've got Tourette's, then and
Right.
it's just part of your vocabulary, then
Right.
not so much. Can be a little bit more off-putting.
I sense I may have a slight, not Tourette's, but I sometimes have, those little, you feel like you just have something right here and you gotta knock it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess everybody's got their own bodily type of things, and sometimes I'll have those type of things, but no, not with swearing. I've watched some of those videos and I've seen them, but it is kind of interesting, but it is strange at the same time because you're not used to them saying that word 10 times in a row until they kick themselves out of that loop that they're in to continue on with normal conversation.
Yeah. So you've got a Facebook group as well, Sinclair Society. Was that formed before the YouTube channel, or was that after the YouTube channel?
Way after. I didn't create that until my Sinclair Society, or I should say videos about the Speccy, started becoming part of my everyday life. So at that point, I started thinking, well, if I'm going to put videos up about it, why not have a Facebook about my excitement for the platform? And so I created Sinclair Society, was a party of one, me, and then slowly but surely is getting near 2,000 members now. And I think it's just because I would say a good chunk of them saw some videos I made, and I put links often in my videos saying, hey, we're just a bunch of Sinclair lovers that are over here yapping at each other. Sinclair Society, just a place where friends can feel comfortable coming and chatting. And so I created Sinclair Society way afterwards, and it's grown really nicely. I'm pretty excited that there's almost 2,000 members now, and it makes every day I'm in there either adminning or participating and just having a good time.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? As long as you're enjoying doing that and your YouTube channel, then it makes it worth it, doesn't it? I certainly don't chase the subs. It's nice when I get them.
Yeah.
But I enjoy doing the content. I enjoy making the videos for the community, and as long as, even if I get just 1 or 2 likes to say, "Oh, carry on doing what you're doing, we're loving it," that's enough for me. That's enough for me.
I've also mentioned sometimes, some of my videos perform better than others. Naturally, everybody's got those things.
Yeah.
But I also do it to document what I'm doing. And I've said it before that I often have to go back and watch a video I did because I didn't write notes down about how I did it or what things I used along with it. And I'll go back and go, oh, I made a video 2 years ago. And I'll watch the video and go, oh, that's how I did it. So I also do it as a little diary of sorts for myself that's in video form that helps me. As you get older, you start forgetting stuff, and I'm getting forgetful just like anybody else. So having something to remind me that I had fun doing it and here's how to do it again, it's a great place to have a little storage place for you to stick stuff like that.
Yeah. How are you finding getting hold of the Sinclair stuff? Because obviously it wasn't an American thing. So how difficult are you finding it? Are you using eBay or?
Yeah, so it's been a mix. So in the United States, Sinclair, even though we're sold under the Sinclair name, Timex here in the United States did have the Timex Sinclair line of computers officially for the United States. And so there were Speccies technically here, but it started with what we call the TS-1000, which was equivalent to your ZX81. They came out with a TS-1500, which again is the same as a ZX81, but with a rubber dead flesh keyboard like you would find on the Speccy. And then they came out with the TS-2068, which for all classic purposes is just a slightly spiced up version of the Spectrum. Color, sound, all those things. Yep. So it was here for my enjoyment long ago, but I jumped on the Atari bandwagon. But in nowadays form, buying actual Speccy stuff is eBay, shipping from overseas. So most of my real Speccies were shipped at lots of money because the cost of shipping is astronomically high from the UK over to the United States. So I have got a Speccy Plus, Plus 2, Plus 3, QL, all that stuff I purchased from folks overseas.
Wow.
Luckily, my next, technically, I guess, was purchased overseas too.
Yeah.
But it was a worldwide Kickstarter that would ship globally. And but all of my early stuff came from eBay or a few things that I would get from people that would see what I'm doing via my Facebook group and would say, "Hey, I've got this. Would you like to buy it?" And I would buy it and have them ship it to me.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah. So you've had links through the media that you were presenting, like your
exactly,
Sinclair Society, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's really cool. You've also wrote a game, haven't you?
Yeah, 2.
Oh, is it two games? Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
2. So I've got 2 games. The very first game I made, and I'll show this one because I have it here.
Yeah.
Technically, this is one of the first, and I'll dust it off a little bit. When I hold this up to the camera, you're probably going, "What the heck is that?"
Oh, I think that's the laptop version, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. The ZX.
Is that the Omni?
Yeah, even though it's got Sinclair on it, this isn't officially sanctioned or anything, but a gentleman makes these laptops based off of a Speccy 128 type of board.
Yeah.
So it's really a Speccy 128 in a laptop that looks like a Speccy 48 or 16. And I made my first game keying on it, dead flesh keyboard and all, and it was called Invasion of the Cloud People.
Yeah.
It was a Speccy 48K game, and I used UDGs for my graphics and beeper sound. So that was the very first game I made, all on a Speccy. If it's got a keyboard that looks like, again, this, it's the same keyboard.
Yeah.
And I clanked and I learned how to use the keyboard, and that one key would be multiple functions. And I made my first game and put it on itch. Itch.io is a place for people like you and me to create a game and put it on there for free, basically. But you can also put it for making offers if they want to throw you a few bucks.
Yeah.
Always nice. And so I put my first game on there, and I made it for the Speccy 48. Love it. But ultimately, it was for me making a game on the Speccy Next because I wanted to learn some basics. So once I got my Speccy Next, I created Invasion of the Cloud People, the Next Storm, and made that game there. And it's a full Speccy version. So yeah, I've made 2 games to date, both on itch.io. And even though I joke about it. You know what Cassette 50 is, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in the Speccy world knows what a Cassette 50 is. My goal was to make a game that would be eligible for making a Cassette 50 back in the 1980s. Wow. Not the greatest of games, but there's always a few little sparkly flowers in the mix. My goal was to be one of those flowers that somebody would say, this is not a half bad little game. And I've had a couple of people basically say, this would have been a game that would definitely have made the cassette, and it would have been up there in the few games that made sense because there was a lot of crap on there. So I took it as a compliment. And so my Speccy game was that Cascade 50 quality. And I joke that since the Next doesn't have a cassette that comes with it, it's an SD card. My game is part of the SD, 500,000 or whatever, how many games you can put on an SD card.
Well, that's right, yeah. Depending on the capacity as well of the SD card.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you do a little 1 gigabyte, you can put a lot of games on there.
That's right, yeah.
We'll just call it 100, ST 100, just to make sense. And so, yeah, I like my game. I enjoy playing it, and every once in a while I'll make videos about it, and it's great when somebody actually plays it and likes it and says, not a half bad little job. It's not like a baggers type of game. It's not like any professional game of real coders. But I made it, and it does work, and it does load, and people do say, "Hey, it works," and I kind of like it. So I'll take it.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm on the free version of Zoom, it may cut out.
Okay.
So if it does, I'll send you another link to rejoin. if we get cut
Okay.
off. Okay, I just thought I'd throw that in there
Gotcha.
because it's just popped up on my screen. Running out of time.
You've got 2 minutes left. Yeah.
Before it explodes. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've played your game and love it. It's great fun for the next, and you've obviously done something I've never done. I haven't had a bash at Specky Next basic programming. Yeah, I did a little bit of basic programming back in the day on the original Spectrums. I think I did like a little adventure game, text adventure,
cool.
With a loading screen and
right.
That was as far as I got.
Well, that's how my mind, making a text adventure. What do you do? Choose room A or B, and you type in B, and it goes into that room. Yeah. That's where we kind of all started. Yeah. But my Invasion of the Cloud People game did form back in the 1980s, and I started actually creating it. But then girls and fast cars became more important in my life.
As they do. I don't know about the fast car bit, though.
I stopped doing it and moved on to other things. But now in my olden age, I find that working and learning Next Basic and having sprites and all these things the Specky Next didn't have has been a pleasure to learn. I know just enough to get in trouble and just enough to kind of make something that kind of works. And yeah, it's been a treat. So if you ever have time to learn Next Basic, it is really powerful.
Yeah. There's what's his name? Kev Manfredi.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get him on the podcast actually, because some of the games that he's created in Basic, they're incredible.
Yep, I've made a number of videos of playing his games. He is and he includes all of his documentation, so you can read it, copy it, add it somehow to your own game. He's a treat. Yeah, he's a real gem for the Next community.
Yeah, really is. So, what do you do when you're not YouTubing, then, mate? What's your main job?
Right, I work for a fly fishing company. I am a customer service specialist. I'm actually the director of customer service for this company, but I've been in the customer service world since the 1980s. I'm old, so I've been around the block for a long time. But about 12 years ago, I started picking up fly fishing. Fell in love with a method from Japan called tenkara, which is a Japanese method of fly fishing. There's no reel. It's a fixed line method. Fell in love with it. The owner of the company saw how much I was loving it, needed a customer service specialist. I became his employee number one because it was him and me. And I then went through that full time. So for the last 12 years I've been in the fly fishing world, the outdoor world, and I am more than just customer service. I'm also operations. So I handle a lot of the inventory management and some ops things for the company. We're a small company, so one person does many things, jack of all trades, but the majority of it is customer related, working with customers, marketing to customers, being there for them, and then of course some operational things. So yeah, I'm a trout bum. That's what we call it in the United States, a trout bum. Somebody that goes out and fishes for fish all the time. Yeah, I'm kind of that, but I do it full time.
Yeah. Does that affect you? I'm guessing fishing is like another hobby of yours.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that affect you, your enjoyment of the hobby at all, or does it increase the enjoyment?
It takes time away from other hobbies. That's one thing. I spread myself a little too thin sometimes. I've got basically 3 main hobbies and then life. And life has all the chores that you need to do with it.
Yeah.
My main hobbies are retro computing or vintage computing, is probably the biggest one in my life at this point. Tenkara fly fishing, I do it as a job, and I also fish. I'm more of a fair weather fisherman. If I have to trudge through feet of snow to get to a river, screw that. I'm going to drink some whiskey at the fireplace, chat with friends, and dream about fishing when weather gets better. So I fish more in the spring and summer and early fall. So I do that quite a bit. And then Volkswagens. I'm an air-cooled Volkswagen enjoyer, lover. I have an old Volkswagen 67 bus that I somewhat wrench on. I do a lot of these air quotes because I'm not a mechanic, but I know just enough and I'm willing to get in enough trouble to learn how to do my own things, from pulling an engine to doing my own brake work on old Volkswagen. So I love those three things. And my channel is mostly retro, computing, Tinkara, and then Volkswagens in that order.
Wow.
So it takes time away from doing retro computing when I have these other hobbies that I do.
Yeah, yeah. Is you work at home, or have you got a place of work?
So it's changed. So the original company this Tenkara has always been from home. The original owner, founder, was very modular. He did it out of his home in Sacramento. That's how he started this business. And so he worked from his place. I worked from my place. As we grew, everybody else worked from their place. This day and age, you can run a full-fledged company with everybody working from their own home office. So I don't have to travel to San Francisco or anything like that. I could do pretty much everything I do from home. We do have trips periodically, or trade shows that we're part of, where we all get together. But yeah, I do it out of my home. So what you're seeing behind me is my workplace.
That's your office.
For retro computers. Yeah.
Is that an Atari I can see there on there?
Yeah. So there's a Falcon right here.
A Falcon. Ooh, nice.
This is my main workplace. I've got 2 computers here, and then I'll spin around and I'll play some of Atari Falcon. This whole room has been recently redecorated, but just really more stuff crammed in here. I've got a big table that's got 4 Atari 32-bit or 16-bit computers. This whole room is a big conglomerate, kind of like what I'm looking at in your picture. I can see multiple computers. That's what my area looks like. In fact, you're a little more organized than I am.
Well, part of it is off camera. You can't see this bit over here.
Right, that's the joke. Everything behind the camera, you don't want to go there. It's a Shelops layer from the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, because you go in there, you may never come out again.
Yeah, that's it. They're getting wise to me using this now. I've never had that before.
I think I've had some of my coworkers before have done that, and I always thought, wow, it cuts you off at a certain time, but I figured it's probably a basic account or something, unless you pay every month. And
that's it. I think it might have been free for a while the pandemic was on. But yeah, back to give me your money.
Right.
So right then, TJ, what are your favourite machines that you own?
So I made a video the other day for the Crash. Was it the Crash Radio channel? Yeah. Crash Radio, by the way, I have, I don't know if you listen to the Crash Radio channel, the beeper music and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of folks like myself and Simon Butler that do a weekly, although sometimes it's every other week or whatever the schedule. It's not exactly, you have to do it on such and such time. But I did a thing about what's my favorite, computer and stuff like that. I've got a number of them. And originally it was my Atari 800 because it was my first. You never forget your first. And here in the United States, Atari was pretty big. And I just love everything about the Atari 800. It's a tank, wonderful computer, great graphics, great sound, great color, all that. But, and I used to say, then there's the Speccy Next. It's a new modern retro, but it's got a lot of the lineage and heart of the original. And I've fallen in love with it. It's what's rekindled my romance with the older 8-bit. Even though it never left, I just love using old computers. So it rebuilt it so much now. The other day I said, for the first time, you know what? I think my favorite computer is the Spectrum Next. Even though I have a lot of old, I've got a Sam Coupe and I'm an Atari Falcon. I've got some pretty kick-ass boxes that I had to pay through the nose for, but I wanted them as part of my enjoyment as I get older.
Yeah.
Speccy Next, there's something special about it. and maybe because I made a game for it and I just like the design of it, and it's a little bit more user friendly in terms of you can connect it up to any HDMI TV. Yeah, I would say the Next has now become my favorite, with a very close behind Atari 800 computer. So those two.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose my first love really was the Atari 2600. I still
Nice.
think Atari has got the most iconic video games logo. When I see Atari, that logo straight away, video games, takes me back to being a kid.
Right.
I went through all the different consoles and and the 8-bit computers, Spectrums and whatever. But I moved over to Amiga, the Commodore Amiga, and once I'd got older, I had the Atari ST before the Amiga, but once I got older, that Amiga, that was it then for me.
Right.
The Spectrums got pushed away and they got boxed up.
Ah.
And then I suppose after that, it was PCs all the way, and I still am massive PC gamer. But once I saw that Kickstarter for the Spectrum Next, like yourself, it's just brought it all back.
Yeah.
And it was one of the reasons why I started doing YouTube. It was the Speccy Next.
Right.
There was a few other things as well, because I was part of the Elite Dangerous community. You remember the old game Elite?
Yeah.
Well, the modern version of that is a game called Elite Dangerous. I don't know if you've seen it or are aware of it. No.
I'm pretty dumb when it comes to modern video game capability, because I last stopped at the Wii.
And the Wii is a brilliant console, especially for emulation as well. Very good for emulation. Yeah. But yeah, the Spectrum Next, like yourself, has just, as you say, rekindled that love for retro and old machines. So I started getting them all back down out the loft, unboxing them all. And now
you saved them like a smart person and not got rid of it?
There was quite a few that I got rid of, so I've had to get back.
Right.
I mean, I've got a BBC Acorn here. Now, I never owned one of these because these were an absolute fortune when I was a kid. You only ever saw one of these in a school, wheeled in on a little trolley with a TV, a big CRT. Right. So I had to get myself one of these, BBC Acorn. I've got an Amiga 1200 at the back there, Speccy Plus 2s there. And there's quite a few modern consoles here. I've got loads of Wii's, Xboxes, PlayStations, PlayStation 2s, and then over this side that you can't see, I've got quite a lot of consoles as well, like Mega Drives, Nintendos, Ataris. Yeah, they're all there. But the one computer that I kept was my toast rack, my 128K toast rack.
Nice.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite Speccy, if I had to. But the Spectrum Next has obviously got it.
Yeah, it was mine. I paid out of the nose to get a Toasty, and for the longest time that was my main Spectrum until the Next came along. Once the Next came along, it's rules the roost here in terms of ease and flexibility. But I do rotate most of my computers through this office man cave that I call it, and I do use a lot of my old gear, just not daily, weekly, monthly anymore. The Next is used all the time.
Yeah.
But I do use my Toasty once in a while, and the other ones too.
Yeah. Do you use your Next to load old games up with tape as well, though?
Not yet. So I don't have the right cable to do it. It takes a +3 cable.
It does,
and my +3 didn't come with a cassette cable.
Right.
And I guess it needs to be wired a certain way, and I've yet to buy one, and I don't own one. So one day I will explore that, just to say I loaded a cassette on my next. But yeah, no, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, it's because the next input is stereo.
Right.
So you have to have two mono jacks to a stereo jack. The place that I tend to use is a place called Active Consultants. You probably know them, yeah, over in the UK. Yeah. I wouldn't expect that to cost too much to order one of those and ship it over. It's only a cable, so small.
Yeah, they could probably put it in a little mailer. It's just been one of those things that I need to at some point get.
Yeah, it is good fun loading games off tape.
Yeah, but it does force me to use my Specky toast rack more if it is going to be a cassette related experience I want. So it makes me take the next day, the toasty up there or whatever, and play a game or two on it. So
yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So have you got any future projects or games that you're working on?
No, but yes. So I made a joke about the next storm that I called it a 3/4 done demo, because I just got to the point where the game was pretty complete. I thought maybe I would add 3 more levels. It's got 10, and I wanted to do a baker's dozen originally on it, so 13 levels. But I was starting to grow less patient, and I wanted to get it out there and get people to get some feedback. So I've always said, so I called it a demo, even though it's a full-fledged game.
Yeah.
And so people do hold me to, when are you going to finish the game kind of thing. So one day, I don't have the mojo in me right now. When I do programming, it takes every single brain cell and every bit of me to create and do something like that. And I'm truthful, I just don't have it in me right now. I've got other hobbies, as you know, and during the spring, which is spring and summer, I want to get out and fish more often. So I tend to taper off of computing. I do other outdoorsy things. But I think when the Specky Next Kickstarter 2, which I did plunk my money down for, comes this summer, that it may rekindle some of that excitement to get back in. So maybe, this is like air quotes again. Those things, I should make a video game. The air quote killers. Maybe in 2024. I don't know. I don't have the mojo right now. I've lost my mojo in terms of programming. Okay. Maybe one day I'll get it back.
Yeah. Well, I suppose as well, when you're running groups and you've got other hobbies and you're creating YouTube videos, you actually forget to play games.
Right.
I don't know if you feel that.
I play more because I make so many videos. I make a video practically every day or every other day. On a normal month, I do 20 some odd videos, and there's only 30 days in a month. So it's like, I make a lot of videos, and quite a few of them are games. So I do play quite a few games, but it's time consuming. People think, oh, YouTube's easy and they could just play a game and slap it up there. But there's editing, there's uploading, there's fine-tuning keywords, there's all the things that come with, and pointing a camera and having it semi make sense, and lighting. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So I just find all this takes up a lot of time. So it just makes it harder to do some things. Yeah.
So TJ, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. And you can tell your wife from me, you're awesome. So there you go.
Yes. She won't believe you. She's going to say that's AI created or something.
AI created. Yeah. Where can people find you on the net? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so on YouTube, my main YouTube channel is at Mac Society. I've been tethering that word society with me for as long as the internet's been around. Something society. So for a while before I became a fly fisherman professionally, I had a company called Mac, like a Mac computer, MAC, and then the word society, all one word. So I locked that in long time ago on YouTube. So if you type in at Mac Society, although some others will come up that somehow can use the same name, but you'll see my pretty mug up there.
Okay.
If you find the right one. But I go by TJ Ferreira. So if you typed in TJ Ferreira on YouTube, you'll find me. And then, of course, my Sinclair Society Facebook group. And now I added another one called 8-Bit Diary.
Oh, okay.
No word society in it, but I wanted to also, because on Sinclair Society, I keep it pretty Sinclair specific. And I didn't want to bring my Atari and other stuff into Sinclair Society and dirty it up. So I have a new group that's got 170 some odd members now called 8-Bit Diary.
Oh, I'll have to have a look at that one.
Yeah, I'm sure, like your BBC, anything that's 8-bit, and I even open it up to 16-bit, as long as it's not DOS or Windows. If it's something to do with a unique BBC or Amstrad or Atari, any of those are welcome. So there are the main places to find me: YouTube and my Facebook groups.
Yeah, wow, that's brilliant. Well, TJ, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it. Love what you do. Same goes for Retro Robbins. You and Retro Robbins are fun watches for me. So just keeps me in the mood because, like I said, making videos, sometimes you're on a little bit of a downer day. Yeah. And I'll watch one of you guys' videos and go, hey, I feel a little better now. Let's make a video. So thanks for everything you
appreciate that. I'm sure Mr. Robbins will as well, for the plug as well.
Right. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, TJ. I'll speak to you soon.
Peace. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, mate.
See you.